the May 17th, 2024 meeting of the St. Joseph County Election Board. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have minutes to approve that have been sent out, and what are the dates of? It's more than one set of minutes, right?
Yeah, so it's essentially starting from Wednesday for the first day of training all the way until election day.
Okay, so that would be Wednesday the
First.
1st,
Yeah, at 2 o'clock.
and through election day, which can be recessed. I'm sorry, we didn't recess. We adjourned at election.
Yeah, so the end of election.
So that's a complete set. Any additions, corrections to those minutes?
Well, I think there's one small issue in the minutes state that they were, the meeting was recessed when actually the meeting was.
Right.
At the end of it.
Right.
End of election.
So I will be making that minor correction.
All right, with that correction then, I have a, all those in favor of the motion indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the provisional ballot review. As folks know, we, during election day and during the counting of absentee and mail-in ballots.
Chuck, I'm sorry, I'm afraid that the microphone might not be on.
Oh,
Yeah, we're not able to hear very well.
It's not what. Its default is on, but sometimes you have to really talk into that. Maybe that one's.
test.
Yeah, you have to talk right into it.
Test, no. Let's try this.
Hello? So Chuck, after it makes that correction, do you guys have to approve the minutes with the correction?
No.
Then I can post it.
Yes.
Right. Yep, all right, very good.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so on Election Day, we, of course, receive a number of provisional ballots and ballots that are submitted with certificates of error. And part of what we need to do today is, because individuals have a certain 10 days, actually, for the most part, to correct issues that have to do with signatures and proper ID, expiration dates, those kinds of things. We need now to go through maybe about 40 altogether, between
Probably about 40.
about 40 of those. So what we will do is take some time to do that, and then for the ballots that are accepted, we will then enter them. We'll have a bipartisan team that will read the ballot information to Nick, who will enter them directly into the system, and then they will be added into the tallies. We'll announce how many additional ballots have been accepted and then how many have been rejected. So why don't we'll go ahead then and do that.
Joe, can you turn the mics off, please? Thank you.
This will take a few minutes.
That one's good. applicable to residents within 30 days of what right, but by not filling that out, if they that, well, yeah, this cannot be.
Okay. Yes.
Didn't reside in the
I know
county.
my son does.
Why is it? It'll be recorded as a massive
registered. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, they're not registered. One though was rejected, so they at least tried to make sure. Yes, they were great. Or registered.
This person, it looks like they just walked in here with a ballot without an absentee envelope, right? Yeah, I affirm on the penalty of perjury, that person was not did. That's an ADS six. This one is missing an ADS six. But we don't even have a challenge. You guys have a challenge.
And get you an envelope? What do you guys want to do? I do go back to the days.
All right, thank you, everyone, for your patience. We are finished with our review of the ballots, or the ballots and ballot paperwork that came with them. There were 40 ballots altogether that we reviewed just now in the past hour and a quarter. Of those, 20 were approved and were processed, and 20 of them were rejected. And we did do a quick count to determine the reason for the rejection. 9 of the 20 that were rejected, 9 of them were individuals who were not registered or who were registered improperly. 8 of them were missing signatures. 1 of them was a person with a surrendered ballot. Another one was a person who had already voted. And the last one was a person with a missing ID. So there were 20 altogether. All right, so at this time, we can go through the certification process. We have to go ahead and get the results updated. And, yeah, if you would, please, that'd be great.
We could talk about any of these reports or the email from Dan.
We can, I think it's a good idea just to indicate that we had, I think on both of those issues, indicate that we, had these, we don't need to mention names, but, we had inquiries, and then here's what we found out. And, but
And I also just curious about the Uber votes. That's something that I kind of votes on that side.
yeah, we can ask Chris on the reports too. Yeah. Yeah, Chris, could you give us a report? You've given us some report on the voting machines and the process. Could you give us kind of a quick summary and? Joe?
Ours are.
We're on.
There you go. Yep, okay. All right, so as far as the Election Day machines go, we had no issues during Election Day. All 3 poll pad, Freedom Votes, and OVOs were all good to go. So nothing there that occurred during setup. No issues as well. Actually implemented a new process for setup day, which really helped. We sent out all the contact sheets, but also reached out to every site for confirmation of setup times and got that authorization and got that completed. So it was good that we were able to go to each site on setup day, have that piece of paper that said, hey, you're authorizing this time, you're not going to turn us away. One less call that Andrew got that day, so I'm sure he's happy about that. But otherwise, it was good from a setup perspective, so all good there. We do a couple just next steps in regards to the general. We do have Warren Elementary and Clay High School, as we know, are both schools that are closed at this particular time. We'll know next week if those schools are going to, or those buildings are going to be available for us as far as from a site perspective, so we'll keep you guys posted on that. We have a meeting with all the area leads next week to see what that next steps are in regards to those 2 sites. IBW 153, I want to bring that up now. That is a site we did not use for the primary. They had some reconstruction going on during that time frame. They did say that they would be available for the general, so it's just something we want to look at. We did use post 357 to replace IBW 153. Both sites, I think, are very good. IBW 153 could be one of those deals where if Warren's not available, that could be a site that we could then use for that area specific, Leidick-wise, and then that State Road 2 area. So just something we'll continue to monitor and look to see what our next steps are in regards to that.
Andrew, were you checking?
Yeah, I know that we can offer additional sites in November, vote centers. I have to look at code. I'm almost certain you cannot take away sites. So if a place existed in the spring, it has to exist in the fall, and that counts for Warren and for Riley.
Right, Clay. Yep,
Clay,
yep,
excuse me.
yep,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, once we have that confirmed that those two sites are going to be available or not, then we'll look to see if we want to add IBW
There
153.
is no not. I have to say this again.
yep.
There is no not.
Gotcha.
It's not a, hey, can you do this for us? It's a favor. State code says if it was open for primary, it has to be open for general.
Okay, all right,
So,
cool. I
If we
will,
want to add additional places, though, we are welcome to do that. We did that last year.
Okay.
In between the primary and the general.
Okay.
But we don't have the option of removing places that were open for the primary, for removing them from being vote centers for the general election.
okay. I will make a note to Eric, to let him know that he needs to let
doing it.
his folks know, and yeah, we're going to do it, we're going to use it. Okay, good. Otherwise, just overlooking any bottlenecks or anything we can implement during the general to help make flow things happen. We did purposely do a few things in the primary from a machine perspective, as far as additional check-ins, additional freedom votes, to make sure that that flow was good. Seemed to work very well overall, but just, again, some post-election notes that we used. I think there are some other things that we can do. There are some sites that I will be revisiting due to just, I think, advantage of some additional flow that we can have with the sites. For instance, Center Township, there's another conference room. They were very high volume there that we could potentially use as a check-in spot and then only use the other conference room for freedom votes. So a few things that we may alter on some of the sites, just to make the flow happen a little better overall. But again, no issues. Machines went really well, and everything went very, very well on election night.
Well, I just want to commend Chris. I attended the trainings that he did for a lot of the vote center technicians, just short and to the point, and the leadership team that Chris has put in place of going out with the vote center workers on the day before the election, working as a team, I think really helped, because Chris was very successful in getting brand-new people to be vote center technicians, and, you know, it is their first rodeo, and they did need a lot of guidance, so well done, well done.
Thank you.
All right, we have our printouts here from the,
Can I ask about that?
oh, sure, I'm sure we got more questions, go ahead.
Yeah, and just in the reports that you provided, and thank you for going into all that detail, there was noted that there was some undervotes from between the poll pads and the OVOs, which my understanding is could happen if somebody checks in and then determines not to vote.
Correct.
Then that wouldn't count. But there were also a couple of overvotes. Is there an explanation or?
Yeah, that would be
possibility?
specific, part of a provisional perspective that went into play during that time frame. Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
It would be where if you had somebody who came in and had something change specifically, and then what we ended up doing is just having to go and do a manual, so they go to the freedom vote and do a manual provisional ballot, and then that ballot went through the OVO, but did not specifically have a check-in. So we ended up having to do a few of those that occurred where you had a manual freedom vote ballot that happened, and then the ballot went through the OVO. So you wouldn't have a check-in, but you would have a ballot that was cast.
So this would apply, for example, in a situation where someone had been removed from the voter rolls because they were marked deceased.
Sure,
They
sure,
wouldn't be able to check in
Right.
because there's nothing there,
Right.
but they would be entitled to a ballot.
correct, that's
Once
right.
they're proved that they are alive.
Yep.
And even though it's a provisional, the OVO's counting it?
The OVO you'd still use it as the OVO would still count it, yes. So we wouldn't necessarily check the provisional boxes in the freedom vote. You would use it as a manual vote where the voter would use it that way. We do it the other way, where you would have a provisional where then it would not go through the OVO, it would go into an envelope. But we did have a few instances where it did go through the OVO.
Okay. Maybe that's something to continue the conversation on process.
Sure.
Just, it's comforting to know that it's not we know why that happened is more
Right.
comforting than just having real question marks on. It sounds like the process has gone very, very well.
Yep.
And with everything like that, there's always room to tweak. So
Yep, sure.
let's talk about that after.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, so we have the, on our official results here, and we'll go ahead and take a look at them and then sign them. And I presume the total number of ballots increased by the 20 that we sent in. That's our update there.
And these aren't broken down by precinct, right? These are the,
Right, these are just the totals.
yep. That looks- Okay, what are these? Are these 3 copies of the same?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Every
I need
page,
to
the end
sign
page,
one.
first page?
I think we can sign, I think we've been signing the first page.
Okay. Anything
Yep.
else other than a full signature?
Signature, and then today's date.
I can see why you would want to copy the other guy's signature.
I didn't get into med school, what can you do?
All right.
Okay. And that's in
Go
your
hand
hands.
these
then.
down.
Okay.
Yes, it is my hands, and I'm putting them in Kim's hands.
Okay, and these are just,
Those are extra copies.
you made 3 copies of the same?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like a copy?
Yeah, I think that's good, thank you.
Can you print one for me? Or for Eli?
I don't need it, I know where to download it from.
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
Okay, we did have a couple of issues that came up that, for which we received some expressions of concern, and we have some responses, and we thought, without going into the detail as to the identities of the individuals, Amy, if you could kind of mention the investigation that we conducted on each of the 2 issues that arose, and what we found out, what the understanding was.
Okay. Is this on? It doesn't sound like it's on.
Yours is not on, but, no, I see
okay.
the light's not on.
Okay, all right, great. There was one concern that was brought to our attention, and it had something to do with the Hums Elementary and Twin Branch Elementary, which we did not use as vote centers this year, and we did not use them because they were so problematic previously. We had gotten so many complaints about Hums and about Twin Branch that we, as an election board, decided not to use them. That was made public knowledge in all of the communications that we had about vote centers. So that communication was online, posted on our website. It was distributed in the newspaper. And so that was a complaint that we got, that those 2 voting centers should have had signage so that the voters would know that there were other places to go. And so as soon as I was made aware of that, at 8:49 on Election Day, I got a text from a concerned voter. And my response was, I am sending 2 election commissioners to Twin Branch to post a sign with all the vote center locations, and that happened immediately. So there was no communication about Hums School not being a voting location. But I immediately sent out 2 of the election commissioners. They posted this note on the door, the note saying, "Attention, this location is no longer a vote center location. The nearest vote center locations are highlighted on the paper below," which was another, it's the vote center, you've seen it, it's the entire list of vote center locations and their addresses. And it also says to find a vote center, please go to the following website. So it gave our website for vote center locations. So that is the way that we handled that. And moving forward, if we are changing vote center locations, we certainly will work on signage beforehand. But we feel like we covered all our bases of communicating about that. There was another concern that had to do with perhaps voters saying that their candidate was not on the ballot. And we were able to confirm that that precinct was on the ballot. And one of the ways that we confirmed certainly was that all the sample ballots were reviewed and approved by the county election board, by the party chairs, by myself, by our chief deputy of elections, our election clerk, and our RBM consultants. So it went through a very significant vetting process, and sample ballots were publicly available online, and on election day, there were hard copies of the sample ballots in all 42 vote centers. And additionally, this particular concerned candidate was provided through a special records request, public records request early on, a walking list for all precincts in his district, and it included the precinct that he feels was not on the ballot. So, and then there were, oops, sorry.
My understanding is also some confusion about the maps that were available, and that there were some maps that were outdated that were online, I think on the county council's website. And so I think this is just one of these little bits of information that we need to, even though it's not within our jurisdiction to publish those maps, that we just need to make sure either to take a look or perhaps to issue some disclaimers to folks that as to where the official current maps are available.
Right.
Something of that sort.
The GIS mapping department of the county is the one who has complete control over that. And so if a map was posted online on another department's website, certainly the clerk has no responsibility or jurisdiction over maps that are not on the department. But I would encourage every candidate to go directly to GIS mapping. They're super friendly and very helpful, and that in fact is what happened with that candidate as well. We took, he was escorted up to GIS mapping and received his own set of maps. So, and then there was a question also asking for an audit of the machines. The basic answer to that is Indiana code requires a public test of the machines, and this was completed and certified on April 3 with no anomalies. So there's no mechanism that exists currently in Indiana code for a request for an audit of the actual machines. So public has no standing for such an inquiry. So those were one set of concerns. And then we had another concern having to do with an absentee ballot that was not received by the voter who did request the absentee ballot. So this is a very, very unfortunate situation. Unfortunately, these kinds of things do happen. We receive the absentee candidates from both of the parties. This mistake was made by, and that's what it was, a mistake made by a bipartisan team of absentee workers. They had been trained, and they had been trained both verbally and a hands-on process in order to go through the absentee ballot the application and then all the way to sending it out. Tricia, would you hold up the all of the instructions for processing absentee ballots? So this is a very complicated process. It is a lot of information for our absentee workers to actually grasp and put into place. But what I would say is that the absentee workers are, they do the best they can, and we only have this one incident of the voter not receiving their ballot. And I believe that the training of this bipartisan team of absentee workers, I think it was quite thorough. Again, it started a week before any absentees were received. Again, the training was, it was verbal, it was hands-on, it was written. We have step-by-step instructions as well. And these two clerks had access every moment of every day that they were working to the absentee supervisor who trained them, our elections clerk, Kim, and Tricia, including their cell phone numbers. So if they rang an office phone, they had a question, they even had their personal cell phones. So, it's a terrible thing that a voter didn't get an opportunity to vote. And it was, I would say, just a human error, a human mistake, and we will just continue to try to have more red flag issues, just continue with the training and oversight. Because again, I apologize because it does come down to me, and just wanted to acknowledge that this did happen, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. These elections are very, very complicated processes. There are, the statutory book is huge, the number of statutory provisions that we have to comply with, and it's difficult to get through the entire thing to make it completely perfect. But I think that the advantage is that the more feedback we get, the more we can kind of improve the processes going forward each time. So I think that it's good hearing from folks that these issues come up, and so we can deal with them.
Well, I would like to mention that Tricia and Kim and myself are going to a United States Postal Service, a USPS conference, which they're having near Indianapolis in June. And I view the USPS as our partner, as our 100% partner in dealing with absentees. And obviously, this is a problem that is prevalent enough that they would hold a conference in Indianapolis. So that is part of our plan. And additionally, we do want to, and after that conference, we do want to invite our local postmaster to do a tutorial for us, a workshop for us, and show exactly what we can do better. And I would include the mail staff from the mail, M-A-I-L, the mail staff from the county who does handle a lot of our ballots that come in through the mail. So those are two tangible steps to addressing this issue.
Great. All right. Is there any other business?
I have some.
Go.
Sorry.
Okay. So I, last week, was able to go through and pay our vote center workers, but we have some issues with a couple of our vote center workers. And so I pulled theirs, and I need your approval moving forward as what to do. We had an individual who left before 6 p.m., before the vote center was closed. She tells me it was 6:05, but we've clearly stated in the trainings it's until everything's finished and everything's done. We have another individual who didn't come in till 8. They said it was rearranged by somebody through the party. Then we had another individual leave at 4 p.m. to pick up their car, and they said that was arranged. And then we had an individual who worked a half a day, and we don't have half-day workers.
These folks are all paid as independent contractors, 1099 if they receive over $600 in a year, but they receive a flat fee without taxes taken out, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so if they're independent contractors and they didn't fulfill the terms of the contract, they're not entitled to any pro rata share of this. My advice is to not pay them anything.
I mean, we've clearly stated you have to be there at 5 a.m. until the very last voter, and then clean up and everything. There's never been, that I'm aware of, any inspector, well, actually, the one lady who left early, the inspector wouldn't let her sign the blue sheet because he said, you're not fulfilling your obligation. And there was notes on some of the blue sheets as the individual leaving at 4 to go pick up his vehicle, and then the one who didn't come in till 8. And that's at the same place at Washington.
Right, and, you know, my comment about this is that this is set in Indiana code. This isn't just something that we want people to do. This is Indiana code. You come in and you have to stay till the end, so.
And start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning.
Unless
stay
they were like a fill-in for somebody that didn't show up and they were able to find somebody to replace them, but that was not the situation. So,
And this is not 100% on point, but what would happen if somebody had a emergent situation that they had to leave? Would they arrange with party a replacement? Would they arrange with the election board a replacement?
you mean if somebody called and said, I can't make it today, or?
Somebody had to go to the hospital, let's pick a really good excuse. You know,
Well, I've had a couple that were on their way to a vote center to work and were in a car accident. And they didn't make it, and they didn't get paid. They never made it. But if there's obviously a situation like that, I would still bring it in front of the board, because that would be the decision of the board to say, you know, this was an offset, but at the same time too, it's beginning to end.
I think contractually, we're obligated to pay people for filling the terms of the contract, which is 5 a.m. until the votes are counted, and the inspector leaves with a partner to come to the county city building with the bag. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't see anything unusual under these circumstances where anybody had to leave inadvertently or because of, without fault of their own.
Right. I mean, it's always the county's, it's the county election board's discretion as to whether they want to honor a contract that wasn't fulfilled. Here, I think it's I mean, these are straightforward instances where there's no excuse offered whatsoever. It's pretty easy to just deny payment on this level. But if something happened like what Eli talked about, I think that could be taken up. If somebody had to leave halfway through because they had a medical condition, I think the board could take that into consideration, certainly, but not with the folks that, in this circumstance, just decided to be late or leave early.
Well, and I think it was last year that it was honored where we had a actual vote center worker who was escorted out. And because he was allegedly causing some issues, and the board ended up paying him. So, I mean, it's a case by case.
It was in
But-
22.
Yeah, but he came in front of the board in '23 where it was decided, because there was, yeah.
And there was some sort of, that was before my time, there was an exigent circumstance that resulted in him leaving, and it wasn't proper, I would assume?
Well, he was asked to leave.
Right.
So, and again, without revisiting that decision, that's
Yeah.
different than somebody who left on
Of their own volition. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
So we're all in agreement that they don't get paid.
If you need a motion, I'll make that motion,
All right.
not to pay and based off of the reasons provided.
Is there a second?
I make a motion that these election workers not be paid as they didn't fulfill the terms of their agreement with the county.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, any other business?
Yes, I have
Other
another, just a very brief. I have found another opportunity to increase or enhance our election security of the vote machines. It is through an Indiana Department of Homeland Security grant, and that is one of their priority issues, election security. So I would like to go ahead and apply for that grant. I wanted it to be on record that I've asked for the approval of the election board to apply for that grant.
Is that in a specific area or?
Well, we've made a lot of improvements to where the election equipment is stored, and this would increase the protection of the machines where, in the location where the election machines are stored.
Do you need a motion for that? Yeah. I'll
Say yes
make-
to authorize her to apply for the grant on behalf of the election board. I think there should probably be a motion.
I'll move to authorize the county clerk to go ahead and apply for that grant.
I second the motion.
All in favor indicate by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, any other business? All right, let's go on to public comment. Any comment from members of the public? Seeing none, is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.